Hey guys! So for the 21st day of the 31 Days of Horror, I'm going to review the 2004 South Korean film Bunshinsaba Ouija Board. The plot focuses on a girl named Yoo-jin who has just moved to a small village from Seoul. And she's attending the high school there, and she has a small group of friends because she's new, but her and her group of friends are constantly getting bullied by another group of girls. And one day they tire of it, so the small group of Yoo-jin and her two other friends decide to put a curse on those girls. They make a Ouija board out of, draw their own on paper, and they use a Bunshinsaba curse. And while they're doing the ritual and writing the girls' names on the paper, then they hold hands. They're not supposed to. Yoo-jin even tells them, "Don't open your eyes," because you're not supposed to do it while you're doing this little ritual. But Yoo-jin doesn't take her own advice, and she opens up her eyes, and she sees, of course, a really pale-skinned girl with long black hair. After this incident, the girls that were listed on the paper start to die by putting a plastic bag over their head, tying it, and lighting it on fire. So they die from suffocation and the fumes. And that's the main part of the beginning of the story, but then it gets more complicated because there's also the village that Yoo-jin has moved to has this thing where nobody leaves that village ever, and the village is hiding kind of a dark secret from their past, and it involves a girl named Kim In-suk, who died 30 years before. And that kind of plays into the rest of the film, and Kim In-suk coming back and attempting to take revenge on what happened to her 30 years before. So, yeah, I really did not like this film. I'll say it now, I'll say it a million times, you'll probably get tired of me saying it, but pacing is always an issue for me, and I especially find it somewhat of a glaring flaw in most Asian horror films, which I love them, but they have pacing problems. In this one, the pacing was glacial. Like 30 minutes into it, I was waiting for it to be over. It felt like a 3-hour movie, and it was only an hour and 30 minutes because the plot just dragged on and on. The pacing was so bad. And it started off with an interesting concept, and then it went along, the farther it went along, it just got more, the plot just got messier and convoluted, and it just totally veered away from the original storyline that they were going with. And I was so bored by the end of this movie. This is the kind of movie where I would tell people not to watch it, and I regret watching it because it was like almost painful. Wasn't quite painful, because that would be a 3 or lower, but it was almost there because it was so slow and nothing really happened. I didn't find it that creepy either. And yeah, I just don't like and I find that, especially in South Korean films, in some of the horror movies, the plot just gets so contrived and so just messy, and it doesn't make sense by the end of it. They just do too much, and they don't stick to a single storyline. And I just find that with a lot of horror films, or South Korean horror films. That's why I tend not to like them, because besides the pacing issues, usually it's just kind of the writing and story development issues too. So yeah, Bunshinsaba I did not like. I gave it a 4 out of 5, or a 4 out of 10. I would not recommend this. There are far better South Korean films or horror films to watch, and far better Asian horror films to watch. So yeah, that was the review for the 21st day of the 31 Days of Horror. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye.